Arya reached the shoreline adjacent to the Red Keep. She drew needle, as she had expected some resistance. She drew a deep breath and took in her surroundings. Her presence on this beach brought on a euphoric nostalgia. It seemed like a lifetime ago, when she was here last. Other than the throne room infiltration, she thought. The ongoing battle raged all around her, and the familiar sound snapped Arya back to reality. She noticed the skiffs of Unsullied coming ashore, and the Golden Company was sure to notice the reinforcements soon. It was only a matter of time until blood flowed on this very beach. Arya quickly scaled the stairs to the dungeons beneath the castle. Prior to entering the doorway, Arya watched as the Unsullied waded ashore. Hundreds of arrows rained down on them, and a handful of soldiers were closing on Arya's position. Their shields were held upward, blocking the arrows from the sky. She saw Tyrion Lannister protected by the Unsullied as he made his way to the castle. Arya stayed longer than she should have. A Golden Company garrison approached her position from inside the castle. Arya ducked behind one of the many dragon skulls just inside the doorway. A few minutes passed and she heard the clash of bodies and the clang of steel. Just outside the doorway, hundreds, maybe thousands of men were now battling for control of the beach. Arya was momentarily cast into darkness, and the door separating them from the beach was shut and barred. She emerged from behind the skull, but stayed close to it. One man remained inside the door after it was barred. He lit a torch and began searching for threats. Arya thought fast. Tyrion could aid her in her cover, and perhaps take her all the way to Cersei. Tyrion Lannister was hurrying down the hallway until he was startled and dropped his torch. Arya had then revealed herself to Tyrion. "Jaime," he shouted. Tyrion leaned forward and embraced his brother. "Your Harrenhal excursion was prosperous?" asked Tyrion. "Quite," said Jaime simply. "And Lady Brienne?" asked Tyrion. Jaime silently shook his head, and Tyrion knew not to press the issue. "Why are you here?" asked Tyrion. "The Red Woman. Jon Snow is gravely injured, and she is needed back at Harrenhal," said Jaime. "And you?" Jaime asked. "See if I can convince Cersei to unite our armies," said Tyrion with an eye roll. Nymeria quickly bolted across the walkway, and the direwolf distracted Tyrion from his conversation. He shifted his torch to get a better look. "What is it?" asked Jaime. "I swore I... just... never mind," said Tyrion, and the two brothers continued down the hallway. "There is still a price on our heads. Cersei said it herself. You remember?" asked Tyrion. "Yes, of course," said Jaime, attempting to sound convincing. "She'll remove my head quite efficiently. You, on the other hand?" "Sorry, bad choice of words," Tyrion chuckled. No, you're right. I may be able to get close," admitted Jaime. "Wait," exclaimed Tyrion. He then rushed into Jaime's path and faced him. "Close enough for what?" eyed Tyrion. Jaime ignored the question and pushed past Tyrion. "Wait, I have an idea that might gain us an audience," said Tyrion. "Always full of fucking ideas," said a voice. Jaime and Tyrion then abruptly stopped their progress. Jaime removed Needle from his belt as the man emerged from the shadows. "I figured you would eventually use this tired access once again," said Sir Bronn of the Blackwater. Bronn had already had his sword drawn. "I assume it's too late to strike a new deal," said Tyrion. "Quite right you are," said Bronn. "Another dragon killed, the Dragon Queen's forces have diminished to nothing, and I was very underwhelmed at this army of the dead." Bronn finished as he set Joffrey's crossbow against the opposite wall. "I bring Cersei both your heads, and I gain what remains of the Seven Kingdoms," said a smiling Bronn. "Perhaps you expect our heads to just fall off?" asked Jaime. "Yours? Aye," said Bronn, pointing his sword at Jaime. Bronn tossed a set of irons at Tyrion's feet. "You? I'll bring to Cersei herself," Bronn said to Tyrion. "But she's always had a bit of a soft spot for the tall one," said Bronn as he quickly lunged at Jaime. Jaime then effortlessly blocked the lunge to Bronn's surprise. "Lack of your bloody gold hand has made you a wee bit quicker," he finished. Bronn reset himself at a distance of a few paces. Bronn's eyes shifted from Tyrion's lack of weapon to Jaime's thin blade. "Wrist must be a bit weak these days, I reckon," Bronn paused. "Never seen a grown man carry a sword that thin," he mocked. Bronn lunged again in mid-sentence. Jaime blocked it and scratched across Bronn's cheek. Jaime had drawn first blood. "This is fruitless, both of you," shouted Tyrion. Bronn grew frustrated, and Jaime shared a confident grin. Bronn was not expecting a provocation, and wanted now to have Jaime on the offensive, and Jaime obliged him. As he danced and twirled circles around the confused Bronn, the Blackwater Knight saw an opening, and was baited into another lunge. Jaime bent backwards to avoid the blade he knew was coming. Before righting himself, he slashed with needle. Bronn swung again. Again and again he missed. A curt grin spread across Bronn's face as he finally struck Jaime's steel. This gave him the confidence to attempt a vertical downward strike. Jaime was waiting for it as the attempt was made. He thrust it upward, and needle punctured Bronn's forearm halfway to the hilt. The sword perfectly gaped the two bones in that same forearm. Jaime twisted needle, which brought Bronn to his knees, and further twisted until Bronn dropped his own sword. Jaime expected a secondary attack and kicked the short blade from Bronn's opposite hand. Jaime then swung needle's pommel across Bronn's jaw, and he heard the sellsword spit out numerous teeth across the stone floor. "Aye, you have gotten better," he sputtered as he spat blood into the floor. "Maybe it's time we talk," said Bronn. Jaime then turned to Tyrion, who was wrestling with the decision. Eventually Tyrion nodded, though his eyes were full of worry. Jaime then turned to Bronn, who held up his hands in protest. "Cocksucker," Bronn mumbled. Jaime paid this no attention as he thrust needle through Bronn's throat. Jaime quickly removed his sword and watched Sir Bronn drown in his own blood. He fell, face forward onto the floor, and Jaime bent down to retrieve the irons from the floor. He shot a glance at Tyrion, and Tyrion casually scoffed, almost perturbed. "It seems once again I'll be restrained in that damn throne room," lamented Tyrion.